Welcome to the Michigan Runner Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. How do you come behind that? I just want to thank every one of you for being a part of this evening, especially during a time like this. I think it's important that we all came together and that we are all indulging in sharing this moment with each other. Like I said, I'm going to go home and say that I've been quarantined just so I can just suck up this moment because it has been a wonderful moment. To the committee members, of whom I know so many who have followed Walt my career, Jim Spear, Tracy, we can go on and tell stories about Tracy. I remembered him, my sister, she said, oh, I remember him now, he had the afro. And I was like, yeah, he was also the official who had the lime green pants on, the tuxedo and the lime green pants. And my first remembrance of him is I was either walking back from the finish line at Madison Square Garden and I looked over and he had these pants on and I just smiled. I had this overwhelming smile and he smiled back at me like, you got it. Yeah, that's why I wear these. And it was just a great moment. And we've been having those great moments from now up until this time, and I'm sure he had a lot with me being here. He probably kept saying my name to the committee over and over and over again, like Tracy does. What Tracy wants, Tracy gets. So I just want to take a moment and thank my sisters who actually came to be a part of this night. My sister Stephanie, my sister Gail, my sister Debbie. There's 8 of us. And my brother John, but we usually travel in packs, but I'm just so glad that they were able to just take a moment and be with us. You heard from my son, the other half of me, and with so much passion. I think he gets that from me. And you didn't get a chance to hear from my daughter, who says, no, I'm not doing that speech. And that's my daughter Stephanie, who was also here to be a part of this evening. I'm glad to have them all here with me. When I think about my life, I think about so many firsts. She was the first one to do this. She was the first one to accomplish that. She was the first one to come out of Western Pennsylvania and represent the Olympic team as a female for us. She was the first one to accomplish this. She was the first one to walk into Madison Square Garden at the age of 16 and break this world record twice in one day in a crowd of 25,000 people. She was the first one to take this type of job. She was the first one to be a female athletic director. There were so many first-time opportunities for me, but I never saw it like that. Francie and I was sharing, and our goal was, we just want to win. You know, I want to beat somebody. I need to be in front. And I think that just comes from leadership. And what I love about leadership, it doesn't come in a gender form. Leadership comes in you. Thank you.
I'm going to be able to be here because he was in a nursing home. And his name is Henry Hank Phelps. He coached for over 50 years in my school district. I organized and emceed his retirement dinner. Well, ladies and gentlemen, last Friday Hank died. And I want you to know that I'm up here dedicating this award to my high school coach. Okay?
Yeah.
And when the videographer came in, Hank, wherever you are, I know you're here with me, because when the videographer came in, went down to my school, and I said, look, I don't have any Lebanon Greyhound gear. It's been a while since I've been here. Right? And the AD went back and rummaged around in the closet. Hank was the AD for 40 years. And they've since changed, but guess what I found? I said, I found an old school baseball cap of his. It has the Lebanon Greyhounds on the front and his name embroidered on the back.
Cool.
And I wore that in some of our outdoor interviews, which they didn't have time to show. But for Coach Phelps, he's here with me tonight. His pictures and his cap is here, and I know that in heaven right now, the cross-country courses are mowed better, they're lined better, and they've got bright red barrels on the corner markers. And Hank will make sure of that. All right. Having so many athletics canceled for this next weeks or months reminds me of another thing that happened 40 years ago, which was the Olympic boycott.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Only thing similar I can draw an analogy to is having a season either canceled or suspended is what those of us that made the Olympic team in 1980 had to go through. I hope to
Unbelievable.
hell it never happens again. In '76, I saw the Africans boycott and walk out of the Olympic Village of Montreal. In 1980, we didn't bother to go, and our allies. In 1984, the Soviet Union and their allies boycotted. The Olympics is about inclusiveness. It works best when people come together. And I know I'm going long, but I'm trying to say this, that I was fortunate to become a 3-time Olympian, to make 10 U.S. cross-country teams. And when I was on that podium in both Paris and in Madrid, and for 2 days of my life, I was the best in the world at something. And they can't ever take that away from me. But for me, it all started back in high school.
Thank you. As the newest member of the 2020 class of the National High School Track and Field Hall of Fame.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tracy. That was a very thoughtful introduction. I want to thank, this weekend has been so much fun. Seeing friends old and new, and I just want to thank you for this great honor. Thank you to the nominations committee, and a very special thanks to those of you who recognize the importance of honoring boys and girls who became the future of our sport. I was nothing more than a little girl with a big dream. I was gifted with the relative speed and endurance, and was one of the fastest kids on the playground at school and in the neighborhood. I was also the little sister of Ron LaRue, whom if you do not know of him, he was also a gifted runner at the high school level and went on to win the U.S. Men's Cross Country Championship in 1965 and 1966. And I'm reasonably sure one of those championships was right here in New York in Van Cortlandt Park. At least one, maybe two, I'm not sure. Yeah. And, but my story begins when Brother Ron qualified for his first and last Olympic Games. How many of you know the story of the great Billy Mills?
Oh, yeah.
And his gold medal performance in the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. My big brother was on the starting line with Billy Mills and Jerry Lindgren, who is also a Hall of Famer, high school Hall of Famer, I believe last year? Yeah,
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Through my brother, I learned that girls can run and go to the Olympics. I was just a little girl with a big dream. I not only wanted to run and go to the Olympics, but as my dad would often remark, if you're going to dream, dream big. Now what? I am what some refer to as a pre-Title IX baby. I won't go into detail other than to say that my high school, nor any high school in what is now referred to as Silicon Valley, California, nor any high school that I am aware of in the state of California offered athletics for girls back then. Well, that's not exactly true. I could have joined the girls' sports class, which was offered basketball, swimming, and I think it was field hockey. But you had to participate in all three sports. But my gift was putting one foot in front of the other. I rarely talk about this, as most in this day and age cannot relate. You can only imagine what my parents thought when I went to them and said, I want to run, I want to go to the Olympics, as a 13-year-old. But Brother Ron was running and he went to the Olympics. So fortunately for me, they enlisted his help and finding a club team, the only game in town back then for female athletes like me, and the rest is history. Some might think I lacked opportunity, but in fact, it never occurred to me I lacked opportunity because I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. Compete and work towards representing the United States in the Olympics and winning a gold medal. It's a little known fact that my first 2 years in high school, I actually trained with the boys team at my high school and raced in their cross-country meets, but I wasn't allowed to wear the uniform or score points. That was in between club teams as one disbanded and the other had not yet formed. And that's the time frame when I was working with Coach Preston Doss. I have such gratitude to Coach Doss for all that he's done for me. In fact, I recall that when my first international meet was at the USSR British Commonwealth dual meet. And Coach Doss came to watch me compete at that meet, and that was after we had parted ways because he moved on to a different school. And he came trackside and he said, "Do you remember the first conversation we ever had where he had asked me if I could run a half mile under 3 minutes?" And I told him, of course I did. I hung up the phone, I asked my dad, "How far is a half mile?" "I have to go see if I can run it under 3 minutes. Where do I run?" And he remarked to me that day, "The first time I saw you run, I knew you were a natural." Coach Doss was, he was a great coach and a great mentor to me those 2 years in high school. And I kind of believe that he may have put his career on the line a little bit by pushing the envelope a little bit, by allowing, making it possible for me to be able to train with the boys back then. To my knowledge, there had not yet been a lawsuit filed for inclusion of girls in athletics in high school. I suspect that running with the boys toughened me a bit, but honestly, I could have cared less about racing with the boys because that was not the path that would lead me to the Olympics. It was the girls' club races to which I traveled on the weekends that I looked forward to. In my junior year, after my sophomore year in high school, I joined the San Jose Cinder Gals, led by Coach Augie Augebright. And as you heard, Coach Augebright put me on my first Olympic team within that first year. And those teammates of mine pushed me. There's a teammate by the name of Jackie Dixon who won the first ever legs mini here in New York City. We ran side by side for 5 years. And I didn't know it until much, much later, in fact, not that long ago, that Coach Augebright enlisted Jackie to I guess, work with me on running more miles. So she was kind of my, I guess, helper to help me to get better as a runner back then. Augie was ahead of his time as a coach in terms of trying to help us to run more miles and to become better athletes. I was just a little girl with a big dream. In some respects, looking back, it may have been a little easier to make a national team as I did at the age of 16, as the pool of competitors was not nearly as great as it is today for all the athletes coming up. What started out as this girl's dream became nearly a 30-year pursuit of that dream. And while I never did reach that goal of winning an Olympic medal, I did get a certificate for my 5th place finish in Seoul. I actually thought that everybody got a certificate until just recently when I was being interviewed for this, that is something that only the top 5 get. Yeah, so
the top 8.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It hung in my office for 18 years at Southwestern University. Where did I leave off? I ultimately experienced the unfolding of the inclusion of women's and girls in sports at all levels and expansion of events and sports offered for women in the Olympic Games. And through my travels throughout the world, especially in those early years, gained knowledge and experience of many cultures across the globe. And that likely never would have happened had I not been that little girl with the big dream. But again, thank you so much for this great honor. And congratulations to all of you here who are sharing this evening with me.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Tracy Summon for inviting me to this thing. Yeah. This has been just a wonderful experience. I had no idea that this place even existed, but Stacy and I toured it today and we were amazed. You know, when I started pole vaulting, I didn't know what I was doing. I've always been competitive, but a guy moved in next door to me named Ernie, and he was 2 years older than me, and he was out jumping me in high jump. We had a little pit built in my backyard, had some grass, a stack of grass, and some stuff there, and we jumped, and he was out jumping me. So I went into my dad's garage and pulled out a galvanized 10-foot pipe. And so that's how it got started, basically. I won't go into any more details.
Galvanized pipe.
So it was really an accident that I got
That's
into
amazing.
pole vaulting. Always liked athletics and so forth, but nothing like pole vaulting. I didn't realize that in the high school they had actually a pole vault pit, and I didn't even know pole vaulting existed until Ernie, my friend, entered high school. He was 2 years ahead of me. He invited me down to school, and so I had my Levi's on, barefoot, and used one of their poles, and I think I jumped 10.6, and that was about 6 inches shorter than the varsity pole vaulters were jumping. So anyway, it went from there. As a freshman, I was kind of disappointed because I was on the varsity team, but the two guys ahead of me beat me in the state track meet in Arizona, and I couldn't take it. So the following week, we did have one more track meet. It was the all-state track meet from all the top athletes in Arizona. So I worked my butt off, and they went out and had a good old time. Well, come to find out, I beat them by 6 inches. I had the best jump as a 9th grader in high school, in national high school, and so I was entered into the Sports Illustrated magazine. And that's how it happened. It's very simple. I really don't have much more to say except I am very honored here to be invited to this activity, and it has really impressed me to be here. But I eventually jumped 15 feet in high school, as you all know, and I was the first to jump 14 feet in high school and also 15 feet. But if I didn't have the coaches and the background of my friends, it wouldn't have happened. And I think as a thing for teenagers, the harder you work, the better you get. I don't care. I didn't have all the athletic abilities, but I worked harder than anybody in the track team. And so I tell when I was teaching, I emphasized this, and I said, it's not what you know, it's not how smart you are, but how much you try and what effort you put into it. So that's what I got out of this. But I really have had a pretty good life. Question?
Did you ever use a fiberglass pole?
Yes, I did.
How high?
15 feet.
Where'd you go to college?
USC.
Did you know Dallas Long when you were in high school?
I went to school with him.
Same school?
Same
time?
school, same high school.
Same time?
Same high school. I think we're the only ones that have 2 athletes in high school in this activity. So, no, I knew Dallas, and we also had another national record holder, discus player.
Oh.
And so, back then, my grip was 12 feet 2 inches on the pole. What they're using nowadays is a carbon pole, and they're holding 16.5 feet. And I was just a little bit too late. If I'd have had that knowledge and that pole, I think I could have jumped 20 feet. I really did.
You did it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Opp was my University of Redlands college coach, and he played a big part in me going to throughout my years at Redlands. But of course, I think most of you guys should know Mr. Opp, Mr. Runner. I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Opp. Mr. Opp. Mr. Opp should be in your Hall of Fame. I'm not kidding you. He won more track meets than any coach, high school coach. As a matter of fact, they were comparing him with you guys, with some coach here in White Plains, New York. I forgot, I don't know who the coach was, but he won quite a few track meets himself. But Mr. Opp should be in your Hall of Fame. If it weren't for Mr. Opp, who's that? Mr. Brooks?
Is it Glenn Lux?
I don't know, but he was the coach of White Plains, New York. He was unbelievable, and I knew the only coach they compared him with was Mr. Opp. Mr. Opp was amazing, and he was not only made him. What made him so amazing was the fact that he took time, he took energy, and he took his money to help poor little kids make it. Really. I don't think I would have made it without Mr. Opp. I'm not kidding. So, I just found out that at that table that he said, what's your name? What's your name?
Jim Spear.
Mr. Spears. He said, you should nominate him. And I will do that. And but you should look at Mr. Opp and put him in your Hall of Fame. I hope you do. But ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, anybody else who had anything to do with me being here, my wife and my daughter, she's right over there. And this is her birthday. Tomorrow will be her birthday. She'll be out here. We're going to spend it in New York. It's a great thing. I really am prepared. I'm prepared. You know, my wife, she don't really too much care, but I said, honey, if you get it, we get it. So I really love this city. Too bad I can't afford to be here. This is a very expensive town, and especially being right here and Madison Square Garden. This is
In New York.
okay. Manhattan, right?
Yeah. Midtown.
This is a very expensive town, but I really well, yeah. But we enjoy being here. We enjoy having this dinner. We enjoy you guys bringing us back from the dead. I'm not kidding you. I was on the bus the other day because I ride the bus, and I would like to ride the bus because I can, meet people I don't know, and ride people without saying hi, Jerry, hi, Proctor, hey, Proctor, hey, Proctor. I had to move across to the other side of town because those people were on my side of town. Most of them were blacks. They would say, they would tell me, they would say hi every day, and I would, okay, sure, I can speak. But anyway, I'm going to go back to Pasadena with a smile on my face, and this COVID thing has really war is out in Pasadena and in LA, and we're so happy to be here to take that off our mind. We really are. And thank you so much, whoever had anything to do with this. Thank you so much. My family, thank you so much, and thank you.
The sport of high school track and field, and it's more clear every year the impact our sport has on not only the participants of the sport, but the world. And it's the same thing every year, and it's about coaches, and it's about athletes, and it's about families, and those support us to make our sport great and make great people. And what I love about this evening is not the stats and the records and those things, but we realize the massive impact and the humanity of the participants in our sport. And that's what's thrilling to me, is to hear those stories and hear people talk about their mothers and their children and their wives, and that's what hits home. So thank you for participating in our evening tonight. It's been a great honor having you here. I don't want the evening to end because I want to keep hearing these stories and keep hearing about the impact high school track and field has had on each of us and the world at large. So thank you for participating. Thank you for being here. You're the reason why we're here. And have a healthy, safe trip home and take good care. Thank you.